Both my dad and I thought super high on the Patriots. We wanted this team to succeed, and now we're just thinking, how can we see winning football as soon as possible? Welcome back to the Old Bull and Young Calf Boston Sports Podcast, episode 17. And we got a full house of content here for you guys. My dad's going to share the 5 segments we're going to hit on today. One of them's pretty loaded, Dad. So let them know what they got to look forward to.
Yes, so we're going to touch on the talk of the draft, Caleb Williams. And we're also going to pick who we'd like to see slip to the second round. We're also going to talk about the reports on Bill that he is basically done, and that's supposedly etched in stone. So we're going to go with that, and we're going to do a rapid fire Frank the Tank Commander. Good news, bad news last week. We're going to go over that, and then let you know who we need to root for and root against this week to solidify that draft position. Then we're going to jump onto the Celtics. They're in the middle of their toughest 10-game stretch of the season as far as their schedule goes. I'm going to let you know how they're doing and what's up ahead. And we're also going to play out a scenario where end of the game, you need 2 points, 3 seconds left, Jason Tatum's doubled. Who is the other guy you would want the ball to go to in a one-on-one isolated situation? So Matt and I are going to let you know who we would like to see in that. And then number 3, we're going to jump to the Boston Bruins. Not great results, 3 winnable games, 1 and 2 in those. This some other developing new things with them, and we're going to touch on those as well. And then we have Anthony Wilgers Basement Bets. I'm going to spoil it right now. He won his lock again. He's his lock 4 of the last 5 weeks, absolutely killing it, and he's feeling it because he's got 2 lock of the weeks this week, one for Saturday, one for Sunday. And then the 5th segment, we're going to do a little sTeveMZ with my son being creative, slipping a little T in there with Steve TMZ. We got some drama going on across the world of sports, and we're going to touch on how we feel about all that stuff as far as Patrick Mahomes crying, Draymond Green, Otani and his weird contract, and
Yeah,
yeah, there was a 4th thing out there. So we're going to touch on
you'll
that as
hear it.
well, and
Yep.
yeah, let's get to it. Start us off, Matt.
All right, so we'll jump right into the guy who's probably not going to be in a Patriots jersey just because of the draft situation, but we're still going to talk about him. He's an exciting guy. He's the Patrick Mahomes 2.0, right? You're going to see almost from the jump why they talk about this. You can see this happening in a Chiefs uniform right now. You know, the ball goes crazy. The play's over, picks up the ball and just slings it. You know, Tyreek's down there somewhere, right?
60 yards.
Yep. Like it was effortless. And you know, that is against a bad team, but that doesn't matter. I mean, there's probably, you know, only a handful of people in the world that can make a throw like that. Now here's the thing. And this is, you know, what we're kind of getting into again, really quick. I got to stop. That's a bomb. It's like a 60-yard pass in the air. Very few people in the NFL could do that. Very impressive. The only thing that people are saying about him is he struggles to work in structure. The problem is he didn't really get a ton of opportunity to work in structure at USC. As far as I'm aware, according to people who know a lot more about college football than I do, he has a bad offensive line. You saw it break down there. He didn't get a pocket at all. So that's one of the things we're going to try and look at throughout this highlight reel. Is he given a clean pocket? If he's given a clean pocket, is he then trying to do too much? Is he breaking the clean pocket and trying to get all fancy, or is he making the right play? So here we are, clean pocket. He's staying in there. You know, nobody's probably open. This is a good play, in my opinion. Dad, as you've watched some highlights today, what do you think of this guy?
Yeah, again, so tough to gauge. This stuff isn't going to happen in the NFL because the problem is when the pocket breaks down in the NFL, you can't escape sometimes, but a lot of times, even the defensive linemen will catch you. They're that fast. You know, everyone's that fast. Everyone's a tick faster. So he's getting sacked in this scenario where in college he can get away with it. But sometimes NFL quarterbacks do escape. And he shows you, he gets out and he escapes. Watch out. Because these
Yeah.
throws, they are money. Guys on the run, no underthrows, no overthrows, and you just see the talent that everyone's gushing over. It's the physical talent. I mean, look at throwing
Yeah.
like off
That
his
was an
back
off balance
foot,
throw. Yeah. It's like 30, 40
laser
yards.
beam. Yeah, and so there's a lot to like about him, but again, putting him in an NFL offense where the pocket is tight, the coverage is tight, it does worry me. And,
Yeah.
you know, I've watched a lot of film on him. My comparison for him, he's basically Tua with wheels. Runs a lot better than Tua, throws a really good quick slant, right? I've seen some previews of him when he has some slant passes. He does really well with those, and that's Tua's like bread and butter. So, you know, he's got some accuracy downfield. He's got a better arm, obviously, than Tua
Oh yeah.
too. So he's kind of
Oh
like
yeah.
Tua on steroids. But you know, I mean, if we can get him, if someone does go crazy after Marvin Harrison Jr. and takes him number one,
Yeah.
and Caleb slips to us at number two, I mean, get your popcorn ready because it's going to be fun. I could,
Yeah.
I think, I think he's as close to a can't miss as you can get because the talent just oozes from him. And
Yeah.
my only concern is, like you said, Matt, structure. What's he going to look like against NFL defenses? Where everything's a lot tighter. So we'll see.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, like Aaron Rodgers, kind of the blueprint for that on the move throwing. I guess John Elway. Maybe I'm too young, right? And I'm missing some guys here. And then you have now Patrick Mahomes, but it's almost one in a generation. These guys come around, and is Caleb Williams that guy? And I heard probably the scariest thing you could possibly hear about Caleb Williams. I was watching a highlight with the voiceover today, and a guy said he could get away with it because of the arm he has, some of the moves he makes. But the guy has noted he said the same exact thing about Zach Wilson, right? And that's making
Mm.
kind of these risky plays, putting the ball in a position that in the NFL you really kind of just want your quarterback to throw it away. But because he has the arm talent, because he has the talent, it works out for him. That, like my dad said, doesn't always translate. Now, um, one of the big things is he is kind of forced to play hero ball. He's on a USC team. Everybody, if you don't watch college football, you probably remember the USC Reggie Bush, right? Back in the day, Matt Barkley, good defense. That's not this team. They fired their defensive coordinator mid-year, I believe. They gave up 35 points per game. So Caleb Williams at that point, his offense had to score, what is that? 5 touchdowns minimum to win most of his games. So yeah, there's a lot of pressure to get it downfield. There's a lot of pressure to not just throw it out of bounds because you probably can't afford a 3 and out because your defense isn't forcing those 3 and outs. So yeah, Dad. I mean, does that excuse some of the risky throws? What do you think?
I mean, I feel like Drake May was kind of in the same situation, right? We didn't really touch on it. His defense isn't good. And he was put in a lot of positions where they're trying to remain ranked high in the standings. And, you know, they're behind because the defense, they're losing when they play tough competition and they play hero ball. And
Yep.
it's almost like ironic, right? Because Drake May and Caleb Williams, the kind of coach, the one attribute they could really use when they go to the NFL is a guy like Belichick to like
Don't
to
say
get
that.
listen. No, no, no. The only attribute is that one thing where Belichick could actually really get to him and go, "You see this throw you did in college? You see this throw? No, you're not doing that.
Never do it again.
I will put
Yeah.
you right on the bench. That's it. Get that out of your head. You see that play? Throw it away. No, no, you don't ever. Yep, you got a touchdown there. Don't ever try that in the NFL because that's an interception for a pick six. So the structure I feel like does need to be there with these two guys, even though they're just loaded with talent. But
Yeah.
yeah, man, is it an excuse? I mean, it kind of is, right? College, every loss is crucial. Like you get one loss, and your hopes
Yeah.
of going to the playoffs in college are almost gone. So it's
Yeah.
like you get to two losses, forget it, you're up. So
Yeah.
you get in that position where you have to be desperate. You're down by three scores, two scores, and you got to start playing hero ball. So
Yep.
I feel like it is kind of a legit excuse, but I can't take credit for this. Matt had a sneaky good stat that kind of knocks Caleb Williams down a peg, and that's this reel doesn't have it, but a lot of his highlight reels shows his running, and he can move, he can run, but it's not as big of an asset as I thought it was. Matt came across, he only has like 130 rushing yards this year, and that really
Yep.
shocked me because
11
on the
touchdowns.
plays
11. Yeah.
yeah, but
But
I mean, a lot of those highlights where he ran were probably in his first 2 years of quarterbacking at UFC, maybe, and he's just trying to be more of a pocket passer, in his final year. But it's not like look, the kid's loaded with talent. He's got Patrick Mahomes' talent. It doesn't mean it doesn't mean he is a surefire bet.
yeah.
We'll have to see because Zach Williams was almost just as talented. You're right.
Yep.
That's a scary
Yep.
comparison.
Yeah, and I think that's his floor. Oops. Yeah, I think sorry. Yeah, and that's probably his floor, to be honest. So hopefully he doesn't turn into a Zach Wilson. Hopefully he can have the mindset to be an NFL quarterback. And I think what my dad mentioned is if you look down at the bottom of the screen during a lot of these highlight reels, the team has a ton of points. Not in this scenario right here. It looks like they really crushed
Yeah.
Stanford. He cares about winning. People made fun of him a lot because he was crying after a lot of losses. But like my dad said, if you don't win all your games in college football, then you don't play in a meaningful game at the end of the year. And it used to be like the bowl games was very confusing growing up. Like you never knew which one was the national championship. They kind of rotated between the Sugar Bowl, Orange Bowl, Fiesta, right? Now, if you don't make the college
Mhm.
football playoff, people are pretty much skipping their bowl game because they don't mean
Yeah.
anything anymore. Yeah, so next year that's going away, right? I think they're gonna have 12 teams. I don't know exactly how that's gonna work. A lot of games for college football players. Um, we'll see. I'm excited about Caleb Williams. I feel like he's a you know what is it, bang or bust sort of quarterback. I feel like Drake May's safer, um, the kind of prototypical quarterback. Any final thoughts on Caleb Williams, Dad?
No, I don't, but I just want to tease that next week we are going to take the data that we have for all three of the quarterbacks because we've gone over them in this episode and the last two. We went over Jaden Daniels and Drake May, and now Caleb Williams. Matt and I are going to give you who our three guys are as far as what order they are, who we want number one, number two, number three. So we're going to let you know who that is next week. And at some point in the future, Matt and I are actually going to watch some full games of these guys because it's tough to gauge with the highlight reels. We're going to watch some full games of these guys and see if we reassess where that order is as well. So, all right. So let's move on to the second rounders and see who we hope slips to us with that early second round pick, almost like a late first round pick. Matt, who you eyeballing?
Yep. So I'm gonna kind of wear my dad's hat this week. And last week he picked an offensive tackle. I'm gonna pick an O lineman here. This is Graham Barton. Don't know much about these guys, right? So you got to read what you can read. He was an All American. He's a senior, 4 years in college. It means he's a mature guy. He's got that adult strength, pretty big. I think he's 6'5", pretty big. He plays left tackle, 314 pounds. He made All American in some shape or form all 4 years at Duke. So, and Duke had a really good year this year. They started off super hot. They did fall off, but O line play is really important. You got to win in the trenches in college football, and I think he was probably a big part of that. And so, a lot of drafts have him going in the late 20s. So it'd be great to see him slip, get down to us in the early second round, and we get a offensive tackle to go with our new quarterback.
All
What do
right.
you got, Dad? Who's your guy?
I'm game for that because as we've seen, if you don't have an offensive line to block, none of it matters. So I'm actually gonna take a page out of the Young Cavs book. And I have a wide receiver that I want, and this guy is a decent chance. He's late first round in some mocks, but second round in others. So there's a good chance that he could slip to us, and that's Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State. It's actually their number two wide receiver. So basically, what this guy is, he's Julian Edelman 2.0. If he
Really?
sharpens up his routes a little bit, that's all he needs to do. He runs great after the catch. He's sure-handed. and he gets open quick and he's super smart. He knows how to read a zone. He knows when to settle down and get open. And if we have our franchise quarterback with behind a shaky offensive line, we need him to be able to get rid of that ball quick. And he's almost like Demario Douglas, like the other receiver we have, but a better version of him. So I feel like we got Pop Douglas on one side of the field and this guy on the other. Even if the offensive line's a little shaky, I think we'll be in good shape because these two guys, you know, they're game breakers within 5 yards. They know how to get open, and that's what you need to be able to get rid of that ball quick. Don't get your quarterback killed. So that's the guy that I'm eyeballing. And, hopefully he is, in fact, the next Julian Edelman.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if he drops his super deep wide receiver draft. There was another guy, Xavier Worthy for Texas. Um, I just hope we hit because usually we're in the middle of everybody else hitting. Harry, and now there's AJ Brown out there, Debo Samuel, that George Pickens guy for the Steelers. We had just picked freaking loser Tyquan Thornton. So yeah, hopefully we hit on a wide receiver. That'd be nice. And
Perfect segue. We should not have to worry about that. We should have a legit chance of picking a winner wide receiver because of the news that Belichick is, in fact, going to be cut at the end of the year, traded, gone, whatever. So,
yeah,
Matt, what have
yeah,
you
I could
found out
preface
about
that.
that?
I could preface that a little bit. So Tom Curran came out, and a lot of people are knocking this. Right? He said that according to the sources he spoke to after the Colts game, this was way back, I think week 9 or week 10. This was our away game in Germany. Robert Kraft, after losing that game, was done with Bill Belichick. He was not going to fire Bill Belichick midseason. He was going to let him ride it out, but he's done with Bill Belichick being the coach. Now, a lot of people are coming down on that, and they're saying, the sources, how flaky the sources are. Why are you distributing it so late? And I've read about this, and one of the things I heard is sometimes sources don't let you release things right away. Sometimes sources want to give it a little bit of time, right? So what better time than after a Steeler, beating the Steelers, than to put a damper on whatever hype there is that Belichick's staying, than to release and say, listen, Belichick's gone, right? Um, this game was an important game. To put some context around it, we were playing in Germany. We are the national team of Germany. We had Sebastian Vollmer. He was a big. Everybody loved that guy. We had that fullback. I forget his name, but people were huge on Jakob Johnson. He was another German.
Mhm.
Um, it's considered a home game over there, and we got embarrassed by the stinking Colts. Gardner Minshew and the Colts. Mac Jones threw 2 interceptions within the red zone that game. Thank you, Mac. Tank Commander Mac. And that came after a week where we hosted the Commanders, and the Commanders had just jumped on the tank train like we should have and had shipped out all their best defensive players, and we lost to them. Right? They
At
traded Chase
home.
Young. Yeah, they traded Chase Young. They traded Sweat, Montez Sweat, their edge rushers, and we managed to poop our pants and lose to them. And I understand Kraft was done there. Now it's tough, right? Because a lot can change between that Colts game and now. But those sources let Curran come out, so where there's smoke, there's fire. Dad, what do you think about that report?
Yeah, first of all, Tommy Curran's not a shaky source, right? He's
No,
been on the inside of the Patriots forever. So if he says it, it's probably going to happen. My only concern is I just hate the fact that it came out so early with there's so many games left, and I'm worried about the human nature of it, right? Does does Belichick at some point corner Kraft and go, oh, so this is true, you're getting rid of me, huh? And does Belichick back down? He's like, does he, well, I hope not. Matt made a good point to me off air. He's like, well, he's a billionaire. He shouldn't have to back down anyone he owns a team. That is true. But again, I don't know. Is that happening behind closed doors? So I'm hoping that, the tension and the awkwardness doesn't like wear on Kraft as these last, what is it, 4 or 5 games play out and he has a change of heart. That's all I'm saying. But otherwise, this is good news because we've been wanting this. We need that fresh start. And, so let's see how
Yeah.
the soap opera plays out for the rest of the year.
Yeah, and the most important part of this transaction is it needs to be swift. We need to get a new entire system, right? We need to rip out the roots of Bill Belichick's way, right? We loved him. Thank you, Bill, for everything, but we need to start over.
Mhm.
We're the most important draft pick in Patriots history, basically in the last 20 something plus years, is happening next May. So we need to get the team in here that's going to make those decisions. So if that decision's made, Kraft, make it right after the season's over because we're already eliminated from the playoffs. Everybody, I'm sure that doesn't feel great. So yeah, and any final thoughts? Oh yeah, and real quick, just add a little sauce. I'm gonna put a video up of Kraft in his puffy jacket sitting in his box at the Colts game, and you could just see the level of profound disappointment on Kraft's face. There was an article that came out from NFL where he spoke to fans and that shared that Colts game in Germany was incredibly important to him, and we pooped our pants. Any final thoughts on that, Dad, before we move on to the battlefield?
No, rapid fire, Frank the Tank. I am ready.
All right, let's go. Alrighty, buddy. Jump in the tank for a rapid fire Frank the Tank Commander session. Dad, you want to fill us in? What happened last week? The letdown. What happened?
Bad news first. Uh, Pittsburgh Steelers organization, complete clown show. 7-3 playoff hunt. Two home games against Arizona Cardinals and the New England Patriots, and they lose both. Are you absolutely kidding me? What a bunch of pathetic losers. Patriots win. Luckily, we're still in second because the Cardinals did not play and there was a bye. The other bad news is Carolina, once again, they just can't get out of their own way. No win there, but there was some good news. Three teams that we needed to win were all underdogs, and they all came through with some shocking victories. Bears won. They're basically eliminated from worrying about them. Titans won. Don't have to really worry about them anymore. And the Jets were a concern because we had to play them at the end of the year, and they pulled off a win too when they were underdogs. So some good
Yeah.
news there, and we're in good position now with those teams basically eliminated. So this week, uh, we have a game we should not win. Kansas City, they're fighting for the playoffs lives, and I can't imagine the Patriots pulling that off. That would be an absolute disaster and nightmare. So we should lose this week. Knock on wood.
Yep.
Sorry, Cardinals, we need to lose. No shot there. They're playing San Francisco. That's just not going to happen. But
No.
Carolina, hey, they're at home against Atlanta. There is a chance of that happening. So that's our rapid fire segment. Go Carolina Panthers and,
Go
go
Cardinals.
Kansas City Chiefs and Taylor Swift. She better bring her damn A game and I don't know, get them
Yeah.
pumped up in the locker room or something. Yeah.
I know we're hosting them too. We're hosting them. So, yep, that is
Yeah.
the Frank the Tank Commander. Again, a miserable segment. I hate that it exists. I would much rather be
Yeah.
drafting 32nd overall every season, but here we are.
Yeah.
So, we'll move on to number two. This is a lot of Patriots. Like I said, one of those segments was super loaded. We're going to talk about the Celtics. Tough stretch coming up. We're in the kind of the start of it. My dad said there's 10 busy, very this 10 game stretch. He's including the Pacers and Knicks game that happened on the 4th and the 8th. Uh, we split that 1-1. We then faced the juggernaut that my dad claims as the Cleveland Cavaliers and handed them back to back losses at home, which was very refreshing. So, um, yeah, really quick, some notes on the Celtics. One of the things that I didn't realize is that the Celtics are 28th in the league in forced turnovers with just over 12. Now, it's slightly deceptive because I think they have 12.3 and there's 5 teams tied with 12.5, so they're pretty close to, getting in that, low 20s range, but that's not what we want from a team. Losing Marcus Smart and replacing him with Drew Holiday, um, we should still be forcing a lot of turnovers. And a lot of that comes from lack of hustle on defense. really can't stand the guys walking around. It bugs the crap out of me. I know they're trying to save energy. Tatum's kind of an expert at that. You don't want to push him too hard, but I would love to see Tatum just like Kobe. Take this, like, these prime years seriously. Get out on an all NBA team. Like, do something, defensively. And a lot of guys don't challenge him, right? But show some hustle defensively. He had a big block tonight on a live mic. I don't know if everybody heard that, but he baited the layup on the fast break, and he said, "Get that bleep out, give me that bleep." And I got pretty hyped. And that's what I want more from Tatum. I want that intensity. He's still very young. I'd like to see him kind of get up for that, and we're gonna really need him to get up against these Magic. But before we get to that, Dad, any thoughts on these past few games?
Yeah, I was shocked to hear that number. I'm hoping that's fluky-ish because that doesn't feel right, the 28th in turnovers. But if that is legit and that's going to be like that for the rest of the year, that is a concern because they should be better than that. And, I don't know, maybe there's some theory behind it where they are usually winning. So teams are taking threes, which it's tough to get a turnover off of threes, as
Yep,
opposed to,
true.
they're passing around, driving to the hoop, so hopefully that's just fluky and that swings around because that is concerning that you found that. And I don't like that one bit. But yeah, this 10-game stretch right here, they're off to a 3-1 start. I feel like if they can go 7-3 during this stretch, that would be an amazing accomplishment. Their next 6 games are a gauntlet. And I feel like, though, that these 2 games against Cleveland justified my take that they're my biggest concern in the East because if both games were at home and they were missing Mobley. Mobley is their best big man. He's better than Jared Allen as far as an overall game goes. They didn't have Mobley, and the Celtics once again struggled at home and their first game against Cleveland in the last two. Cleveland was coming off traveling back-to-back game, and almost no team in the NBA wins that game. And they were up big on us early, and we had to come back and to beat them. So I feel like that unfortunately is coming true. I really wish we kind of crushed them being at home with no Mobley, and that wasn't the case. But these 2 games coming up against Orlando, we have been Orlando's bitch. They have just absolutely dominated us.
Yeah.
Something is going on. It's so weird. And they spanked us again in the in-season tournament in Orlando. And now we're coming back, and the rumblings are starting to happen that we just can't handle them. So if the Celtics don't come out and whoop Orlando in these 2 home games right here, after what they've done to us in the last 2 years, then I feel like it's something more. It's something really concerning that Orlando is one of the teams that can match our size. They're big, they're strong, and man, if we don't like puff our chest out and show some dominance over them in these 2 games, there is definitely cause for concern. How do you feel about that,
Yeah.
Matt?
Yeah. So, and it's scary, right? Because I don't want to see I don't want to see Orlando in the playoffs if we can't beat them in the regular season, because you want
Mm,
teams to respect you and fear you, but Orlando can play so freely against us, especially if they beat us both these games. Even if we split, I know it's a lot of games, like 3 games in 4 nights, right? But you got to prove it to these guys. It's a young team. You got to put a seed of doubt in there. You can't have these losers running up, these disrespecting you, running up the score on you. And this is kind of one of the when I was talking about the defense, is we need intensity. We need 4 quarters, because that's what you're getting from these guys. And it's not like Tatum is Horford's age, right? He's 1 year older than most of these guys, right? Get out
yeah.
there and hustle, Tatum. Don't be too cool to hustle. Win this game. It's really frustrating, the fact that, like, Jonathan Isaac can shut down Tatum, right? They put him on him in the in season tournament, and Tatum got fits, but that's
Mm,
also on Missoula, because where's the scheming, right? Every team in the NBA is switching everything. Get Tatum on a worse
mm,
defender, and Tatum get to the hoop. I mean, the problem is that we struggle with these teams with these fast, shifty guards, right? Garland and Mitchell. You alluded to this, right? Scalabrini mentioned this on the broadcast multiple times. We need to, when those guys are in the field, expose them, because they're bad defenders. The fact that, like Cole Anthony, the guy is tiny, right? Fultz, all these guys, get out there and pressure those guys. They're not good defenders. It's something where I want to see us play with an edge and not let these guys come into our house and disrespect us yet again. And Mo Wagner, I'm not calling him by his proper pronunciation because I hate him. I am so disinterested in playing against him, and I'm genuinely concerned he's going to hurt somebody. Hopefully, I don't have to come back to this clip and use it later because he's a dirty player. He flops, he flails. Um, he causes a lot of ejections because a lot of guys in the NBA can't stand the guy because he's a freaking loser. So I
Yeah.
am nervous about these two games for a lot of reasons. Porzingis was on the injury report. I don't know if you saw for calf tightness today, probable. They kind of limited his minutes a bit. He was a big part of our success in those early quarters of that in-season tournament game, and then he came out and they just kind of blew our doors off. So I really hope he can be in there. But if he can't, he can't. Sit him. I don't want him getting a long-term injury. But yeah, I think real quick, I did message a bunch of my buddies about this upcoming schedule, and I said from the Cleveland game tonight on up until the Lakers on Christmas, and my buddy Jesse said that we lose one game to Orlando and we lose to the Lakers, so 5-2 in these 7 games. My buddy Brandon, who listens to the podcast, he has us losing to Orlando. The first game we play with Orlando, and then he has us losing to Sacramento, and he has us winning on Christmas. It'd be nice to beat the Lakers. Sacramento is also a back to back, so they are kind of screwing us here with these back to backs. And then my buddy Dan, he thinks we're going to lose to the Sacramento Kings, and he thinks we're going to lose to the Lakers. So we'll see. I mean, we should win every single one of these games. If the team wants to win these games, I think we're going to win these games. What is your thoughts, Ed, on this? What's your record opinion on these games coming up?
Yeah, they got coming up 4 games in 6 nights. That is hard. The last 4 are on the road. There's a back-to-back with the Golden State and then next night, like they said in Sacramento, I'm hoping for a 7-3. They're 3-1 right now. To me, 7-3 on this 10 game stretch would be amazing. And another thing, go back to Orlando just real quick. There's something I feel like is going on with the Duke thing with Tatum. Like that kid, I always forget his name, that number 1 pick. He's really good, right?
Colts?
It's almost like no, no,
Oh,
no. The
Bankero,
Duke kid.
Bankero,
Yeah,
Bankero.
it's almost like people were in that kid's ear going, "You're good, but you know Tatum." And it's almost like people were in Tatum's ear going, I don't know. This kid might be a better, this kid from Duke, might be the better Duke player than you. Because it's almost like Tatum's pressing, and then this other kid just goes out like, I got something to prove. So I'm hoping I'm wrong there, but just keep an eye on that because I can't help but feel like in my gut that that's factoring in somehow. But yeah, I'm hoping for a 7-3 out of this stretch. And, but overall, health is number 1 for me. Like you said, Porzingis, as much as I love to see them, curb stomp Orlando, if we have to sit Porzingis for those games, so be it. And,
Yep,
if we lose, we lose.
yep, totally agree. So yeah,
Yeah.
uh, I think that kind of touches on the Celtics. Again, we're still very high on the Celtics. They're still number 1 in the league. So not much
Yeah,
poo
we got to
pooing,
give
but
our last second shot real quick. We
oh
got to give it.
yes, yes, yeah. So
Yes.
my dad has this scenario in his head
Scenario.
regarding and there's in my opinion there's a lot of context when you ask this question, um, but in a vacuum, my dad, I actually have answered this 3 different ways since my dad asked me this. And I think the reality is it's got to be Jalen Brown. Um, Jalen Brown, this is Jalen Brown's team when Tatum's not there. You can complain about his on off, advanced metrics, this, that, or the other thing. But Jalen Brown at the end, he's created some magic for us before. He's been a part of some magic. Um, I've seen Porzingis this year try and get a couple late shots for us. I know we all have, and that hasn't been it. I think that's a lot on honestly on Missoula because most of Porzingis's late game shots are kind of just throw ups. And if you're going to be doing those shots, you should have one of our guards do that, not our 7 foot whatever center. So yeah, it's got to be Brown, Dad. What are your thoughts?
So the preference of this was it's Tatum's doubled,
Can't be Tatum.
and you can pick someone else in a one-on. They get 3 seconds left, space on the floor. They're just going against someone one-on-one. They have 3 seconds, so they have enough time for a quick drive or a quick pull-up jumper. So that's the scenario. And to me, I'm actually going with Holiday just because
Wow.
Tatum, Jalen Brown, I the turnovers still concern me, right? If he gets a room for a nice little mid-range jumper, I'm on board for that. But if someone D's him up and makes him dribble past them, I am scared to death every single time I see
Yeah.
him put the ball on the court. So that right there, especially in a super high pressure situation, makes me nervous. Drew Holiday, I feel like, he just has a way with these big men, right? Where he just puts his shoulder into them, creates space, and gets it
Saw it
in.
tonight
He has a
against
decent,
Allen.
yep, he has a decent little mid-range jumper too, and you don't see him dribbling the ball off his feet, or
Yeah.
So to me, he's the most. And I know he hasn't showed out. He's been, his numbers are down, but to me, I feel like in that spot, he's not going to wilt. It's not going to be too big for him. I almost feel like I wish like the Celtics players would wear something on their heart to monitor their heart in these pressure situations and see who has a calmer heart rate. I mean, you should be able to do a. As crazy as that
Yeah.
sounds, right? I
Yeah.
I want the guy whose heart is beating just a little bit faster than normal, as like opposed to this guy was about to have a heart attack when he had the ball in his
Yeah.
hands with three
Yep.
seconds left. Because that does
Yeah.
it creates tunnel vision and it creates jitters and you overshoot or you undershoot. So
So you
my
think
guy is actually
Holiday?
surprisingly Drew Holiday. Yes.
Yeah, and last 10 games, he's up to 44% from three. Um, so yeah, he's coming around. Old Bull's jumping on the Drew Holiday bandwagon. We've had some segments kind
Mhm.
of questioning where he's been at least from the Old Bulls idea. But yeah, I don't think that's a bad choice. Derek White, our team is so freaking stacked. I'm so thankful for being a Celtics fan right now. And before we move on, shout out to Peyton Pritchard. He's the highest percentage three pointer shooter since like November 1st in the NBA. Shout out to Sam Hauser. I don't know how he's doing it, but every freaking time that guy shoots the ball, I'm almost positive it's going in. Big shout out to those guys. Our bench is showing up. Hauser had some incredibly timely threes. Um, I'm super excited about that. Yeah, to this game, he went 3 for 3, right? And every single one, he was on the move. Um, really excited about that. So, yeah, that's our Celtics segment. So we will move on to segment number 3, and that is the Boston Bruins. So my dad did say, I think he misquoted it. He said we are 1-2 in the last 3 games. We're not 1-2 in hockey terms. We're 1-1-1. We took 3 points in 3 games in a situation where we left, to be honest, 3 points on the table. Now, I don't think we left 3 points on the table because of our play. I think our play was bad. I think we left 3 points on the table because of the teams we were facing, right? I don't know. This is a pretty mature team. I know we lost Bergeron. I know we lost Krejci, but what slid in place are still, seasoned veterans, right? We don't have a lot of young guys in this team. I know Patra, Lorai, Beecher, but those guys aren't getting a ton of ice time. So the people that are out there for a lot of it should be able to recognize this is a game that we need to win, right? Um, we are still pretty high up there, right? So, you don't want to win it at the cost of injury. We're 4 points up with a game to spare on the Panthers, and we're tied for games with the Maple Leafs. Um, any thoughts on these general 3 games, Dad, before we get into the specifics?
Yeah, I mean, it sucks to see him lose him, but I don't mind some adversity, because they had no adversity last year at all during the regular season. But I'm just so concerned about the scoring. I looked back at the last 10 games, they've scored more than 3 goals twice. In one of those games, they needed overtime to score the fourth goal. And if you look at the teams they played, we're not talking about Martin Brodeur and the trap juggernaut defenses. It's a little concerning. New Jersey, the talk of New Jersey is where are we going to find a playoff caliber goalie? Their goalies are not good. they're 22nd in the leagues in goals against, and we score 1 goal against them. Pavel Zacha was out. I mean, does he make that much of a difference? I mean, he's not even really a number one center on any
Oh
team in
man,
the league. So
careful. There's
no,
some
I'm
soccer
sorry, he's
truthers out
not.
there.
It's not doesn't mean he's not good. He's not a legit number one center. Come on, let's be real here. So
On
again, the scoring, I'm just so concerned about the scoring. And again, thankfully our goalies are back to Swayman was awesome again the other day. He does not deserve a loss. It's a damn shame he got the loss in that game. And so luckily our goalies are still standing on their head. Meanwhile, we still got Carlo and Grizzlick coughing up the puck left and right. But the good news is low ride. It feels like this second time up, he is focusing less on taking scoring chances and focusing on defense more because his ice time is going up a tick. He does look better out there. He's still making an impact in the offensive game, still making good passes out of the zone. He's still making good plays along the blue line when he keeps the puck in, generating offense. So
Yep.
hopefully this wakes the Bruins up and they decide, you know what, we can keep this kid up and we can get rid of Grzelcyk or Carlo, free up a little cap space and get cut down on some of those god awful turnovers.
Yeah, and
But
I think like my dad mentioned that that Devils game. Swayman had 35 saves. The other guy I'm sorry, he had 33 saves. The other guy had 23. So a lot more pressure on Swayman this game. And if you watch, the highlights from that game, you'll see um it was no business being a 1-to-1 game. They had two virtually breakaway chances on us, and Swayman, like my dad said, just s- you know playing on his head, right? And he saved us both times. One time was Grizzlick just Zach Wilson in it or Mac Jones in it through the center ice, right on the Devil stick, full stride. Devils go up the right hand boards. No one near him. Gets a clean shot on our guy. And then of course we have Lindholm. And my dad mentioned Carlo. You're pooping on Carlo, but I really think Lindholm, pound for pound, price for price, is the biggest issue here. Um, Lindholm pinching up on a a guy in our zone. The guy bullies Lindholm off the puck, gets it up. The guy has the full left hand side of the ice, and he gets a great chance on Swayman, and Swayman saves it. Right, so that game is almost deceptive. We almost deserve to lose that game 1-3 at a minimum. A lot of our chances were generated by Pasta, being special, right? It did suck. He had 7 shots. He had some really good opportunities that he kind of generated himself. It would have been great to see him put it in the net, but
he's the only
I
one. Yeah.
yeah. And guess who was out there on the ice and got freaking his ankles broken for that overtime goal? Lindholm, number 27, right? I was wondering, like, who's that? Yeah, of course it is. He got the guy came up the right hand side of the ice. I don't know if he put a shoulder into Lindholm or what, but Lindholm flew back, sprayed snow everywhere, gave the guy about 8 to 10 feet. The guy passed it over to the left, and then Swayman wasn't perfect. So shame on Swayman. I guess you should have made another one-on-one save. And it's just I feel like we're playing with fire with these goalies, Dad. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
And Marchand, he was also napping on that game-winning goal in overtime. You look at net, he's just basically just sitting in the middle of the ice, covering nobody in front of the net. Like you have to find someone to cover, especially 3-on-3 hockey. And this game was also on Montgomery because Marchand was completely invisible the entire game. It was clear putting him with Coyle was not working. Do you remember Marchand generating anything? He had nothing. He was invisible. At some point, Montgomery needed to
Started the
realize,
game good.
okay, him and Coyle together are not working, and he never made that adjustment. So I was frustrated with that. So, but hey,
Yep.
it's a little adversity. Hopefully it wakes them up a little bit. Maybe the front office realizes we need to shake it up. We're not as good as we thought. So I'm not against necessarily a little adversity. So you
Yeah.
know I'm still high on the
Listen,
Bruins. I still think I went from you know possibly winning a first round series now to them being this close to being a cup contender. They can get a top first line guy for one of our goalies, and we stiffen up our defense by bringing in some more solid guys, even if they're not offensive guys, I think we could do it.
Yeah, and we're gonna try and do some trade segments as we get closer to deadline because I think a lot of us, very few people are too tuned into the NHL as a whole. So we're gonna go through and try and look and see how we do improve the team, as my dad mentioned, right? Because there's a lot there. And you mentioned the adversity, right? Good adversity is good, but we already had adversity last month. We lost 4 out of 5 games. Now we have our December anniversary. I'm sorry, adversity. I'm kind of tired of the adversity. I want some wins, a string of wins for a little bit. So we'll see. Big week coming up. New York, both New York teams, really good. Um, I'm sure we're going to be touching on that. And we got a Tuesday game against Minnesota. I don't know how good Minnesota is this season, but I know those, they're seventh in the Central Division, 11, 12, and 4. But the Islanders and Rangers, hopefully the Bruins can, make up something there. So, yeah, any final thoughts
Yeah.
on the Bruins side? Are you good?
No, I'm good. Let's check out the two locks of the week.
Yes. Yeah. So, segment number 4. Now, Anthony sent us a video. He's feeling himself. My dad said he won. He's 4 out of 5. If you're not making money on this, you're losing money. He actually called the game tonight, and I had some bonus bets on the ESPN app. Put $50 on it, and I won 30. He told me the Raiders are going to win that easy. So here he is with 2 locks. Anthony, let him know what they got.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another week of Wilgs Basement Bets. Gonna have 2 locks and 1 lean this week. First lock's gonna be Saturday. We're going Bengals -3 versus the Vikings. Jake Browning just had some cramps last week. He's gonna be starting, so that's good for us. And then Vikings tossing in Nick Mullins, so feel real good about the Bengals here. Next one's gonna move to the lock on Sunday. We're going Bills -2 versus the Cowboys. Bills are playing to get into the playoffs. Cowboys coming off a huge win last week. So I think Bills are going to win this one. I feel pretty good about that. Then my last one's going to be the lean on Saturday. I'm going Colts -1.5 versus the Steelers. I feel like the Steelers are kind of falling apart. They have Ben Roethlisberger just talking crap about the whole franchise at this point. So we're going to go with Colts -1.5. So 3 plays, 2 locks. Let's get it.
Thanks, Anthony. And yeah, he does love those Bengals, as my dad knows. Big game, that Jake Browning kid. He's showing us what you can do when you give your quarterback some decent weapons and a decent O line. So coming in for Burrow, he thinks he's going to win that one. And then the controversial game, that those Bills and Cowboys. I think my buddy Tyler is the one who told me the Bills and Dolphins haven't beat a team with a winning record this season. I don't think the Dolphins have at all. And the Bills, the only 2 teams they beat with a winning record were the Dolphins. They were both 3-1 back in week 4 or week 5. And then they beat the Chiefs last week, which was super controversial. And we're going to be getting into that here in a second. Any thoughts on those bets, Dad, before we move on to SteveMZ?
I am not the expert in football, so I know a lot about the Patriots, but football betting, nope. So leave it to the experts.
Yeah, yeah. Put some money on it. And just for the record, I put a $50 bonus bet on both locks this weekend. So I'm gonna make some money. Next episode, I'll have the evidence there. Hopefully Anthony's right there. So let's move on to segment number 5, and that is Steve MZ. And now I got a fancy little I capitalized the T, lowercase the S, because there's just so much drama going on right now. ESPN is foaming at the mouth. I was talking to somebody at work, and I shared how I used to argue with my sister about what we would watch when we were younger because we shared a room. I wanted to watch ESPN, and they were like, "Yeah, when ESPN was good." And it's like, yeah, Boomer, Top 10, all this stuff. ESPN now is turned into TMZ for sports. So we're gonna kind of join them a little bit because this week is a perfect storm for drama. So my dad give his quick thoughts. We talked about that controversial win for the Bills over the Kansas City Chiefs, lining up offsides. Patrick Mahomes shared that the referee's call was taking away from Travis Kelce's greatness, his story, his career story. What are your thoughts on that scenario, Dad?
Listen, I tell it like it is. I tell the truth. Brady was a bit of a whiner too, and it's part of the gamesmanship, I guess. You play the refs and all that stuff. In this particular instance, though, what the hell is Patrick Mahomes talking about? We're talking about a call that, I mean, it's not a judgment call. He was
No.
offsides. I mean, he was lined up offsides. Like,
Yeah.
that should have been one of those plays where he was like, "Are you kidding me? Come on!" And then someone should have said, "Yeah, well, we all saw the replay. He was offsides." You just should have been like, "Damn!" and it should have been over. But
Yep.
I don't know. He tries to turn it around like this is the ref's fault that his ass clown wide receiver lined up offsides. Like, are you kidding me? Get out of here with that.
Yeah. Oh man, I can't stand Patrick Mahomes because I don't know if there's anybody else who benefits more from controversial calls than Patrick Mahomes. They won the Super Bowl last year because of a controversial hold call that didn't that made the Eagles not even get a chance at getting the ball. So yeah, screw you, Patrick Mahomes. You're a crybaby, and I hope
Yeah.
nothing but unsuccessful games for you for the rest of your career. I hope you're happy and healthy in real life, though. But I hope you're a loser for the rest of your career. So yeah, and we'll move on to somebody else that is just despicable in my opinion, and this is Draymond Green. Dad, Draymond Green,
Mm.
he was suspended for choking Rudy Gobert this year. We never shared our thoughts on that, so we could probably couple that here. The choking, what Rudy Gobert's team did, your thoughts on that, and then now your thoughts on him giving a roundhouse back fist to Nurkic. What are your thoughts on that scenario, Dad?
Well, the he's been doing this for years, right? And really, the problem with the NBA and why you have a loose cannon like him and he just keeps doing it is nobody in that league can ever stand up for themselves. No one can actually fist fight. I mean, not that the guys back in the old days, the Parishes and all them, not that they were great at throwing a punch, but they would throw a punch. And the fact that Draymond Green, he just knows it no matter what he does to people in the NBA, there is no one that's going to grab him and just punch him right in the face on the other team. And he's got that sense of comfort where he just gets away with this
Yeah.
stuff. And that's because trust me, at some point with all of his shenanigans that he's done, like if LeBron James back when, I guess he hit LeBron in the nuts one year, gets suspended. But if LeBron James had ever just flat out punched him in the face, I don't think you'd be seeing any of this. I
No,
just
no.
don't. But that doesn't happen in this league. But luckily, it feels like the NBA has had enough. They've never done an indefinite suspension before, and it feels like he's not coming back anytime soon. I mean, maybe in time for the playoffs, but it's not looking like this is going to be a 3, 4, or 5 game suspension. It feels like it's going to be a long thing where he's got to go to therapy and all that. So, you know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's
And
my take on that.
yep, Dad, I think you hit the nail on the head. And he's a bully. He's absolutely a bully. He's picking on these guys who are just, generally soft, right? Um, and you talk about correction. And you know what, Steve Kerr, screw you, Steve Kerr. All this garbage, like you don't have to stand behind your guy that much. And it just makes you look like an absolute idiot, right? Just denying that the sky is blue. You can't come down on your guy for doing what he's doing. And he's not held accountable by his organization. He's not held accountable by the league. I would love to see, when they do finally list the suspension, somewhere between 25 to 50 games. He's played 15 games this season. He's played in 15 games and he's been ejected in five of them. How many games do you want to see,
Wow.
Dad? How many games do you want to see suspension once they officially announce it?
Um, I don't know. Like, for the rest of the year, I think that's probably going too far. So, something that makes him feel like he really
Yeah,
screwed up. Maybe he's gonna feel like he's been away for a while. I don't
yeah,
know. Give him something like 30, half a season. Give him 40 games. Let him come back for the playoffs. That's if Golden State's even in it because they're actually
yep,
out of the playoff picture right now. It's got to be something like hard
yeah,
though, so he can get help and like actually feel like, damn, I cannot do this again because I actually felt it in my wallet and I felt it being away from the game. So
yep,
yeah.
yeah. No, and by the way, I can't stand you, Draymond Green. You're an idiot. So, and then we'll move on to some other drama. The people probably haven't heard too much about this, but this was Giannis with his 64-point career high game, Milwaukee Buck record. I think he took the record from Kareem,
Yeah.
or somebody. And the Indiana Pacers representative took the game ball and gave it to a guy who scored his first NBA point. A lot of drama here. The Bucks then rushed the Pacers locker room to get the ball back. What are your thoughts here, Dad? This was a rivalry type game.
Both sides are wrong here, right? Like you give the guy the game ball because it's his first basket in a game he lost and he got a bucket in crunch time. Like
It was a free
I
throw. It was
don't
only one
that,
shot. You got 1 point.
yeah. I and it's like that I feel like they were just kind of being jerks trying to get the game ball for that kid. And then, Giannis overdoes it with that reaction. I feel like all of this bizarre behavior comes down to I'm going to be the salty old guy here. It comes down to the internet. And it's like these young kids now, they see all this insane stuff. They see this crazy behavior, and it's like almost normal for them. Whereas before the internet came along, you only could base how people behaved on people around you. So, and now you kids are just you're lunatics because
Listen,
you see all this insane stuff on the internet, okay? And it's like
timeout.
your behavior. Like Giannis did not need to do that. It could have been just like, hey, give me that ball back. Like that's kind of ridiculous. And I feel like, at some point it would have happened. They would have got him the ball back, but nope. He's running. People are trying to tap. Like, no, don't do it,
Yeah.
Giannis. No. It's like
Listen, you talk about
everything's a reality show.
You talk about exposing people to insane things. You just said you wanted LeBron James to punch Draymond Green in the face in a live game, in an NBA
It
game.
would have been great.
Yeah,
Yes.
it'd been great, but that's like that. You're asking for it. You're asking for the crazy
That's
thing.
what we
So,
did back in the day. Okay. That's what
yeah.
Robert Parrish would have done back in the day. Okay.
So did crazy things happen and people witness them back in the day or not? Because you okay. All right.
They
We're gonna
did.
move
All right.
on.
You know what, Matthew? Matthew has a mangina. Matthew has a mangina. Matthew has a mangina.
He sang a song from an old pirate musical. But Derek got his football buddies to replace the choir and sing Brennan Has a Mangina.
Brennan has a mangina. Brennan has a mangina.
Finally, the audience and even some of the nastier parents started singing Brennan Has a Mangina. And I have to admit, for a little while, I sort of joined in as well.
I'm from the old school. Take my word for it. Okay. Yep. Generation soft. It is.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. You are. Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun clip to edit in. So now, final thing, right? You baseball fans out there, you've been waiting for this moment, 17 episodes. And here we are talking about the ball and stick, baseball, America's pastime, the sport of America. One of the strangest contracts in American sports history. There's that other guy who deferred his contract, in the 90s. He's still getting paid like $1 million a year every year. I forget what his name is, but he's always on Facebook and people love that.
Bonilla. Yeah.
Bonilla. Yeah. And you have Ohanti signing a 10-year, $700 million contract, and he's deferring $68 million of it. The math of it is he's going to receive $2 million a year for 10 years. After the 10 years, he'll then receive $68 million a year. And he's weighing this to get a better team because his cap hit comes down based on the collective bargaining agreement to $46 million versus the full $70 million. And what he says is that he makes somewhere around 40 to 45 to 50 million a year in endorsements, right? What is the old Bulls' thoughts on this?
I mean, it's LA. They found a loophole. They found a player willing to take it. I mean, it's cheating. It really is. I mean, but what are you going to do? They found a way around it. In the Red Sox, trust me, if the Red Sox make noise, we will talk about them. If they can get this Japanese ace, this 25-year-old, and they sign like a big bat, actually spend some damn money, we'll do some Red Sox segments. But until they just stop trying to make money which is all they're trying to do right now, they're dead to us. Okay.
Yep.
And, again, they weren't even close in the hunt to offering them, I mean, again, I know 700 million is insane. That is over a 10-year period. I mean, I get that. But, as far as I feel, I mean, hey, they cheated. They found a way to cheat. And yeah, they're going to have a better team because of it, because it's less of a cap hit. And the Dodgers, Dodgers are who the Red Sox used to be back in the
Yep.
day, making it rain
Yep.
money, just doing everything they can to get that World Series. Remember those good old days, Matt? We used to do that
Yeah.
too.
Yep. I know you gotta sell the freaking team, John Henry. Screw you. Yeah, and they just traded today for that.
Hey, I love John Henry. He still brought us 4 World Series since 2004. I know he's cheap now and he's not a great
Yes.
owner now, but listen, that man.
All right, then we should keep Bill
he's okay
Belichick
in my
because
book.
Belichick brought us 6. So there you go.
No. I
Bill
still want him gone. I want Henry
Okay.
gone, but I'm going to
Yeah.
show him respect. Just like I want Belichick gone. I appreciate what you did,
All
Will.
right. I'll respect
want
him a
you
little bit
gone.
more. That's a good call. Good call. Now,
Thank you.
yeah, and the
Okay.
Dodgers just traded for that Tyler Glasnow kid, an ace from Tampa.
Did
Dodgers are
they? Oh,
loading up.
God.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't see the Red Sox getting anybody. I think this is inherently bad for the game, and I would, if the MLB had I think a general a commissioner with some guts, they would probably step in and put the kibosh on this, because the precedent this is setting is incredibly dangerous. I don't know what this is going to do for the cap in this sport, and I think the CBA and other sports is going to start kind of going to have to account for this going forward, because this is something like we've never seen before. So we'll see. And then the question is, are players going to be labeled not wanting to win it if they don't defer their money? Is this going to be a legacy thing where, they don't really want to win it because they're not deferring? And is that the narrative that's going to be pushed? And there's a lot of money involved here. So no, I don't like it. I don't like it. It needs to stop. It does suck it happened. But yeah, that's our sTeveMZ segment. A lot of drama this past week. A spicy meatball here on the American Sports Network. And I'm glad we got the old Bulls thoughts. So yeah, any final thoughts, Dad? This is a long one. We're up late. It is now 12:01 a.m. So any final thoughts, Dad?
No, we gave you everything we got. The segment's over, even with that, it's probably going to be an hour long. So, again, we're going to put those timestamps in. You can jump around and, share and share alike. Share that video.
I just took my melatonin. Time for me to go to bed. Everyone, sweet dreams. Sweet dreams, everybody. And I hope you bet on the lock and you win some money. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Night, everyone.